I do a couple of things in life. I've written a couple of books. I have a few more coming out. I host a podcast. I have a radio program on iHeartRadio. I'm a columnist for Inc. magazine. And in this podcast I was getting ready to interview the famous actress, producer, director Viola Davis. As I was preparing to interview Viola Davis, I was reading a passage about her in Brené Brown's book. And it's where Viola Davis talked about how, she was raised in sort of abject poverty. She would come home from school not knowing if the water would be on, if the power would be on, if there'd be gas or heat or food. And she would go to school some days smelling like urine and feces. And the kids would tease her, and she'd go to the principal's office and get cleaned up. This was the beautiful, talented, generous Viola Davis. You can picture her on the red carpet, can you not? And in this passage, I read this story about having thick skin and how important thick skin is. And I could relate because back in 1996, I was a single Catholic boy from Orlando, Florida, moving out to Provo, Utah. That's like a Jew moving to Vatican City. Exciting but tough. And so when I moved to Provo, Utah, Google it, I decided to get really thick skin. Right? It was the priest and me. I decided to get really thick skin, and for like 20 years of my career, I prided myself on being a very thick-skinned person in a company that had a culture very different to my dominant culture in Florida. Thick skin, that's how I survived. I felt very validated in this passage from Viola Davis, where she said, you gotta have thick skin. But then I read the next line, and it said, the problem with thick skin is nothing gets in, but nothing gets out. And it was just so profound for me. I'd spent 25 years having this tough exterior where nothing got in, but nothing got out. And Viola says, you know what? You ought to have translucent, transparent skin. Stuff comes in, stuff comes out. It was a watershed for me. And at that same moment, she talked about the power of owning your story. And for me, owning my story was like yoga. Yeah, for somebody else, owning your story, whatever. And the same day, I interviewed Eric Barker, social scientist who wrote a book called Barking Up the Wrong Tree, where he dispels success myths. And Eric Barker talked about the power of owning your story. It was like two things in one day, owning your story. I go home to my wife. It's 10 o'clock at night. We go to bed. I say to my wife, Stephanie, who's very talented, educated, stay-at-home mom, raising 3 kids, have you ever told yourself your story? She's like, what are you talking about? I'm tired. I'm going to bed. And I said, I've never told myself my story before. This was a year ago. I get out of bed. I'm wearing these plaid, Ralph Lauren, of course, boxer shorts. Like reds and greens, have them on right now. Nothing else. I'm wearing these plaid, Ralph Lauren boxer shorts. I walk to the kitchen and I pull out this wire whisk as my microphone, and I walk around my living room at 10:40 at night at the age of 51, and for the first time ever, I tell myself my story out loud. Picture it. I'm in my Ralph Lauren boxer shorts. I'm 51 years old. I'm an officer in a company. I'm walking around my living room at 10:45 at night out loud telling myself my story. I say my name is Scott Miller. I'm 50 years old. I've been married for 10 years. I have 3 boys trying to destroy that. Your kids will steal your marriage from you, will they not? I swear it is their mission. Like, mothers, we're holding on beyond you. I say, my name is Scott Miller. I'm married. I have 3 boys. I'm the chief marketing officer. I have a brother who's 4 years older than me. My father was raised in Minnesota, and his father died when he was 10 of cancer. My father's twin brother died of polio when he caught it at age 16. And therefore, my father's mother lived her whole life in mourning. My mother was raised by 2 violent alcoholics. I never met them. I hear one of them took their own life, but it isn't talked about. As a result, my mother always came home from school, and they were moving to stay 1 block ahead of the Sears Roebuck Company, repossessing all of their appliances. As a result, my mother has one value: stability. I was raised with meatloaf, literally, metaphorically, 5 nights a week. There was no vacations, there was no bankruptcy. It was all just super stable because she had no stability in her life. I talk about how the fact that at age 6, the principal, I'm still holding it, at the age of 6, you know what, this is deeply entrenched. At the age of 6, the principal of my school decided that he was going to put every 6th, 7th, and 8th grader into one of 3 tracks: advanced, middle, or slow. And I'm not sure if it was eeny, meeny, miny, mo, but I got put into the slow track in 6th grade, when all of my friends of a different socioeconomic level were all in the advanced track, and maybe if they were shamed in the middle track. So I spent like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the slow track. This is my story. Can you imagine the damage that did to my self-esteem? Can you imagine the impact to my SAT score, to the college that I chose? It's part of my story. I've been a lifelong stutterer. I have a very pronounced stutter. I've had speech pathology for decades. I had speech therapy at the age of 4 till almost 16. I've had braces twice. There are 26 words I do not say in public because I'm incapable of saying them in public. I'm a stutterer. I do not speak outside in the winter in Utah because the cold exacerbates my stutter tremendously. Everything comes da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I can't have a conversation on a ski lift. If you ski with me, it'll be a very quiet day. You might be grateful. And I went on that night and I told myself all the things that have been taught to me from my parents, from my teachers, from the Boy Scouts, from what was true, what wasn't true, what were lies told about me, what were people's vision for me. I've been told my whole life, Scott, slow down, talk slower. I'm like, think faster, damn it. I'm tired of being told to talk slower. Why should I slow my brain down for you? And I'm not angry, I'm just sort of liberated. And that night, in my boxer shorts, I just kind of went through all of my fears. And I said, you know what? I'm going to own my mess. I'm going to create a vision for myself. And I went out the next day and I landed a radio program on iHeartRadio. And I wrote 2 best-selling books. And I'm here a year later. You got to own your mess. You got to... Thank you. Go home tonight in the kitchen. Wear whatever you want, I don't care. Pull out a spatula, pull out a wooden spoon, pull out a whisk. Walk around your living room when it's dark, when no one is listening, and tell yourself your story. Create a vision for your life that is not dependent on what your 6th grade principal did, perhaps arbitrarily, to meet some county standard. I want you to own your mess. I want you to make it safe for others to own their mess. Repeat after me. Own your mess. Louder. Stand up. Own your mess. Keep going. Own your mess. 2 more. Own your mess. 1 more. Own your mess. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your time.